There was one time I was in Paris for the Victoria's Secret show.
Of course you were.
Yeah, in 2016. And we go down, there's, like Nick Cannon and all these celebrities and whatever around. We sit in the second row and I was like, yes, how good's this? There's 2 seats in front of us. We're like, this is amazing. And then those 2 seats in front, Dan Gallagher and his wife.
Hello and welcome to the Aussie Rugby Show. I'm Hoiles and Lou Ransome. Great to have you with us. This week we're at the Kalara at West Pymble Rugby Club in Sydney. It is great to be here. Alongside me, as always, Drew Mitchell, Stephen Hoiles. Panel's looking a little thinner this week.
Oh, your words, not mine, but perhaps there's something missing or someone missing, Steve?
There has been some online comments about the angle that it was shot last week, and Sean, look, he took it a little bit to heart. Look, he basically wouldn't fit into this Kalara number 16 jersey, but he's away for the week, but we might hear from him a little bit later, eh?
That'd be nice.
I think we will. Guys, we get to talk about some rugby in Australia. So exciting. Super Rugby Australia version kicked off on the weekend. The Reds and Tars on Friday night was an absolute cracker. What did you guys make of it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game. I think there was a lot of talk going into this game about the rivalry. We talked about it last week. Paul Gallen coming in, really firing up the Waratahs and letting them know what it's like to represent the sky blue.
You weren't happy with Gal though, mind you, were
look,
you?
I just think there was a bit of a beat up, and rightfully so. I thought the Queensland Reds questioned the bubble that they were meant to be in as well. So perhaps the Waratahs relaxed their bubble a little bit to let Paul Gallen in. But I think what the game sort of provided was it was entertaining. There was a lot of physicality. There was a lot of passion and spite throughout. I think we'll talk about a few of those players and moments in particular. But I think overall, as far as derby games go in Australia in recent years, it was up there with one of the better ones.
Absolutely. Without a doubt, one of the better ones I've seen in the last probably 5 or so years. Not just because of how physical it was, but both sides scored some really good tries. The style of footy was really good to watch, and I thought it was an excellent game. The Tars did better than I thought. They were in the game, they were leading with 10 to go, and there was a couple of key plays from the Reds and a couple of key players that really stood out in the end and got them the win.
Yeah, there really were. Tate McDermott comes to mind from the Reds, of course. He was outstanding.
This year's almost been, for some guys like Tate McDermott, Will Harrison I think falls in the same category. The COVID's almost been, it's almost like it's a new season for them. Yeah. They've had such a long break and they've had time to reflect, and he finished pre-COVID on the bench behind Malua, and he came out with a point to prove and he showed his class. I know it was only a tiny step, but that try he set up when he got out at number 9, he just took one step at a little bit of pace and it just sucked in into the defender and opened up a little ball off his hip. That's something that we haven't seen a lot of in Australian halfbacks in a long time. And his kicking game's class, and you throw in his own try. I thought he was excellent.
And perhaps that was a bit of a masterstroke from Brad Thorne, just dropping him pre-COVID. I mean, obviously he wasn't going to be able to preempt COVID happening, but in terms of just sort of giving someone a bit of a rocket, because there was so much chat about him being he's got the Wallaby Gold number 9 jersey on his back already in round 3 or 4 or whatever it might have been, and sometimes you can see, and maybe it just might have been his mannerisms at training, just those types of things sort of creeping into his game, or just not getting the attention to detail and extras and all that sort of stuff. Maybe perhaps Brad Thorne may have seen that. And sometimes dropping a young kid early can have a really profound impact on them moving forward. And then obviously he's had an extended period through COVID to work on his game and also perhaps his mindset. I mean, obviously we're speculating, but he's come back after in that first round in tremendous form.
Lockie Swinton. The
Gallen speech must have worked for Swinton, because he played State of Origin. He just went mad, Lockie Swinton.
Didn't he? We talked how physical it was. He was leading it.
Yep.
Yeah, he was. I mean, the little I know about Lockie, I've been in and around the Waratahs a little bit in the last sort of 12 to 18 months, and he looks just as mad as a cut snake. And speaking to guys that I know, like the Kirtleys, and you hear stories of him at training, often he's having to get separated from teammates, and not even just sort of on the training paddock, but if he has a blow up with one of the boys, whether it be Ned Hennigan or someone else, they almost just have to keep their distance between them until maybe the afternoon, things die down a little bit. So he's someone who's an absolute live wire, and someone that you don't want to tame. You don't want to tame that. There's obviously going to be times where maybe it gets, he gets penalised as a result of it or whatever, and it creeps into his game, and he has to maybe
He probably needs to finesse his attack a little bit, but in defence, keep that
because he
intensity.
does everything at 100 miles an hour, and sometimes, you know, like the drop ball's right on the advantage line or right when the defensive line's on him, he'll maybe snatch at as opposed to sort of giving himself a little bit more time to do things and then go crazy. Yeah. But, I mean, I love this. The one thing I love about him is he's an enforcer. And you can see, like, I used to, you know, as a back three player when I was at training or when I'm, you know, playing against other teams, there was always one or two in an opposition forward pack that you'd look for, and perhaps, you know, you want to just avoid
Was I one of them? It's a no.
Yeah. But, you know, there was a couple that you just looked out for, and you knew their shoulders were tough, and then you knew that once you got hit by them, you stayed hit. So I think he's going to be someone that back three opposition team players will be looking out for.
Reminds me a bit of Jacques Potketer, the way he throws his body around, and he's been like that since school. I think he went to Knox College and he's been like that at Sydney Uni Colts, and he's always been known for that. And so he's not changing. So New South Wales fans, you got a lot to be excited about there. And he really impressed me. Besides the crazy defence that we saw him come up with, he dropped a couple of balls in attack, and that's where I mentioned he probably needs to be a little bit calmer, because when he was calm at one stage, he's the guy that threw that ball to Jack Maddox off that try. So he's got the ability to pass the footy, and there's a lot to like about him, yeah.
Yeah, he was giving a lot of lip as well. Had plenty to say out there. Did it sort of remind you of anyone in your career, Drew, that had that ability too?
I mean, there's always players that you come up against that get under your skin, or will try to get under your skin. I remember Tom Carter. Like, I played. I mean, I started playing with Tommy at sevens level when I was sort of 18. He was 18, 19 as well. And I got to really like him, and then I started playing against him at Super Rugby level, and I just thought, this guy is an absolute dick. Like, you know, he's hard to like as an opposition player, because he's non-stop. Like, there was one time where I was playing for Randwick against Sydney Uni in a Shoot Shield Grand Final, and he stopped Stu Dickinson, who was a ref at the time, and he picked up he just stopped the whole game. Like, when the scrum was about to pack, and he picked up a cap of a Powerade bottle and just went and gave it to the referee. Like, for no reason at all. I was like, just come on, mate. But then when I went back to the Warwick House, when I went back to the Warwick House, loved him. And like, you know, like it's I know he just had an ability to really get under people's skin. But then, you know, he was one of the great guys to play with.
Jacques Potketer was good for a sledge, but because
he
did overstep the line on a couple of occasions, but because English wasn't his first language, Afrikaans was, he basically would just say really obvious things, like, I'm going to effing smash you, or run at me, I'll kill you. Like, and it wasn't witty, but it was just, and then the eyes would be rolling, and he did what he said he was going to do. So it wasn't sneaky sledging, it was basically like brutal cheap talk.
I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go and do it.
And I said again, like, he reminds me of Lockie Swinton plays similar to Jacques Potketer, and I haven't seen a big hit in back row for a long period of time. Ironically, Matt Cobain, he was known as a big hitter. He's the Waratah forwards coach, and maybe he's doing some secret hitting sessions with Swinton, because he would have honestly got 4 or 5 big dominant shots. He got one on Taniello, he got one on Harry Wilson. Like, these are big guys, and he flew out of the line, and if he can keep doing that, he'll impress a lot of people. Yeah,
he will. Before we get to the Brumbies Rebels game, the Tars play the Force this week, and the Force are back in Super Rugby in Australia.
Yeah.
It's good, isn't it, Hoiles?
It is good. You got to hand it to them. They could have easily just folded and walked away, but they've fought and they've got themselves in a position where they're here. And I don't know. I know they've signed a few more players, you might talk about that, but we really don't know what their squad is like, because we don't know what the competition they've been playing against is. They've won every game they've played over the last 2 years, and we know that hasn't been top quality opposition like, you know, New Zealand or South African super sides. But the fact that they're there and they're playing and they're well coached, they're a professional side, they've been together for 2 years. They've played NRC together. I actually think they're going to be a good chance against the Tars.
Yeah, pre-COVID, I went up to Newcastle actually to watch them play in one of their games up there. And what you will get is an exciting brand of rugby. I mean, they've been speaking about it for a number of years now with this rapid rugby, and they've obviously been really well supported from Twiggy Forest, which is fantastic, which has effectively enabled them to stay in the game to the level that they're at. Now they've got an opportunity to really put it out there against the other Super Rugby teams in Australia. But they've picked up some handy signings. Jono Lance, he's gone over there. Ollie Atkins as well. There's
Greg Holmes,
Kyle Godwin as well. So they've put in, like, they sprinkled in a bit of experience and some real talent amongst also some really exciting players that have they've done the hard yards over the last couple of years. Even guys like Heath Tessman, he's been around for a number of years. He's an older guy, an older statesman who's staged who's sort of toughed it out and just stayed strong to the Western Force, and now they're getting their opportunity. And I think they'll go well, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can come up with.
Yeah, I think we all be great to see them back in Super Rugby. The Force and the Brumbies and Rebels, they went at it on the weekend as well. Brumbies set piece, we spoke about it, Hoilesy, that it needed to be strong. It probably would be strong, and it was.
Yeah, look, the scrum you got to say it was a clear win to the Rebel scrum, which surprised me. Like, the Brumbies scrum has been so good. Again, the driving maul from the Brumbies was excellent. The variation off the maul was outstanding, and they killed the Rebels in the first half and the first 5 minutes of the second half. Again, the Rebels, the same thing happened pre-COVID when the Rebels played down there. They gave the Brumbies a huge lead. I think the Brumbies would have been really disappointed by how they let the Rebels back into the game. Again, the Rebels are saying, we've just got to stop giving away these starts, and we showed really good glimpses of footy. But I'm just disappointed with the Rebels. I still see a good side on paper. They've always had a good side. They've had good players. They just don't seem to be able to deliver when it matters.
Why? What are the issues?
It's really hard to work out what the issues are when you've never set foot in an organisation. I think from day dot, unfortunately, they've had quality players. They've been funded well.
There's no real obvious ones because they've got such a good roster.
Yeah.
They had Quade Cooper and Wilgenia in the halves, and now they've got Matt Timur there. The backline, the list that they've got,
Korobetti,
they should be playing better, and not just in terms of the talent, but there's experienced test players there who should know how to finish a game and close out a game. And admittedly they're also up against a Brumbies side who are also got a wealth of experience as well. But we've been talking about this Rebels side and how exciting they are and how exciting their list has been for so long, and yet we're just not quite seeing the results. But I think the Brumbies, rightfully so, are probably the favourites in the Australian Conference. I think if you give them the opportunity, if your discipline is lacking, if you allow them to get back down into your half and really fire up that driving more, because like you said, if they set it really well, and so you either have to really commit and defend it, which then gives them opportunities to break out and do those sort of peel plays around it.
Joe Power got out and scored a try.
Because it's so strong in the driving maul part of it, it then gives them opportunities to play off in and around it. So if any team is if they're lacking discipline anywhere close inside their own half, allow them to get deep, then that's when they can really fire.
Were you also impressed with some of the haircuts on the weekend?
I'm not going to throw stones. I had a haircut the other day. I don't think I've got too many left. So, Drew, you've probably better equipped to talk about this.
I think it seems to be the trend, and it's, through COVID, people in lockdown, what do we do? Just make ourselves look worse.
I did buy peroxide, by the way, during COVID. That's as far as it went.
I bought it?
Yeah.
See,
and I haven't used it.
There was all those...
There's still time.
There was all those, those challenges where people would do the 25 challenge, 25 push-up challenge, and then, you challenge other people. I got challenged by Kurt Lee to peroxide my hair, and I was like, mate, I'm 36. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to fall for that one. So I went and had I went and put like a ton of moisturiser in my hair and put some Glad wrap over the top and went, all right, I've got that. All right, and I challenge you, Matt Giddo, and a few others. And I just went and washed the moisturiser out, and everyone's like, oh, let's show us your product. I was like, no, it's too orange. I need to get a toner. I'm not showing you yet, because it was normal. And Gitz is like, he bleached his hair. I was like, mate, you should have followed me up. Anyway, so, but anyway, I think, we've all been guilty of having some bad haircuts throughout our career, and I think it's almost like it's a rite of passage. You've got to have some bad ones, when you look back at footage, and you look like Sunshine from Remember the Titans back in the day.
Hang on, I thought that was good hair. That's not bad hair.
Yeah, that's the other thing as well, right? I think now, when you look back, you go, hang on, at the time, that was ahead of the trend. Or perhaps you were on trend. Maybe not ahead of the trend, but you were on trend. But now when you look, back when you had the mohawk and the Beckham mullet, I was like, at the time, I was looking pretty fire then. I can't go, But now I'm like, how was that ever a trend?
No. Were you the Wallabies hairdresser at some point?
At one point, on tour, I was made a little sort of, barbershop called Jackson's, and the boys would sort of come through and say, is Jackson's open tonight? I was like, put your name on the list. I was doing everything I was trying fades and quick cuts and things, but I even had to, he wouldn't probably like me saying it, but I used to have to clip Lottie Takiri's shoulders and back up because he just got so hairy. So I didn't always just do hair, haircuts in terms of the head. I did some
trim in,
some neck, and I stopped it mid-back. Yeah. I was like, that's as far as I go. But
I once convinced, we had the players in the Brumbies convinced Peter Kimlin that before rugby I was a hairdresser, and so Kimmo let me cut his hair and colour his hair before he played the Western Force.
Colour it was red.
Anything but red. Anything but red. And we bleached it, and I cut it and bleached it. it, and I still was giggling on the field because these white patches of hair were just falling out his headgear the whole game. Like, silly enough to think that I was a hairdresser. And, yeah.
Oh, right, okay. On that note, let's go across the ditch and talk some New Zealand rugby. Crusaders, they were fantastic again on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, they just look so sharp. Scott Barrett was ruled out prior to that game for the rest of the season, which is disappointing for them. But as they always do, they've just got, I don't know, like a conveyor belt of talent at that place. I mean, going straight, like, look at the back three. Will Jordan played in a phenomenal game.
Break tackles,
and keeping Sevu Reece on the bench. They've got George Bridge, Braden Ennor. Like, they've just got so many players that they can go to. There's versatility amongst that back line as well. I mean, Good Hugh's gone into 12 as well.
was on the bench.
Yeah, so I mean, they've just got so much talent, but it's not just talent, they all just know their roles. So it doesn't matter if someone gets shifted into a slightly different position or whatever it is. They know their role, they own their role, and they have trust that each of them will do their role. And, for me, I think that's probably the thing that makes them so difficult to beat, is everyone just goes out there and worries about their own role individually, but then collectively they just execute.
Yeah, look, I picked them at the start of the year, and I think they're...
Oh, geez, you're a genius.
Einstein.
Yeah, who saw that coming? Crusaders having a good year.
Yeah.
They're just so consistent, and even when things aren't going well in the games, they still manage to get points out of opposition. They make teams work so hard for their points, but they can score so quickly after teams score points. So their quality. And then again, like the other game, Lou, I thought the Hurricanes, like they're clearly missing Beauden Barrett. Like he's the best player in the world, and he's not playing for them anymore. So that's going to hurt. But they got their first win against the Chiefs. The Chiefs, Sean's team. Let's not forget that. That's Sean's team. They haven't won a game. They've fought really hard in every game, and they don't want to hear that because they want to win games. But they've been close in every single game. But they're just not getting there at the moment. Yeah,
I mean, it's tough. Warren Gatland comes back from Wales and the British and Irish Lions, and he's yet to get a win in New Zealand. And I saw also Beauden Barrett sign with Suntory Sunglythe.
Yeah.
He basically took Giddy's money once he retired and added a bit more. Those deals. Had I known that's what Fly Halves got paid, I would have played Fly Half.
You would have learned to pass, you
I would have learned to pass, to kick, to look up,
Yeah.
make decisions.
So does that mean he's sabbatical?
Train.
Can he go? Can you play for the All Blacks during that sabbatical? Do we know?
I'm not sure exactly the rules that they have.
Let's just say no way. Take a year or two off.
They've got a couple others, Mwanga.
He's played enough.
So do you reckon he's done? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, that's your words, Steve.
I was asking if he's going to have a sabbatical, but
yeah, they've got plenty of depth. So.
One All Black star who's not done, it seems, Dan Carter, still going around. Club rugby on the weekend. There was a beautiful video of his dad driving him to the game. It's incredible.
That's just so he can have a skinful after the game. That's what that's for.
Yeah, I mean, that's experience, that is. Making sure you've got a lift home. But, I mean, I think it's great. It also shows that he's going there, to work his way back into the Super Rugby side. I mean, he's not played now for a little while because, obviously of COVID and the Japanese season stopping, but he wants to come back there, and he's not going to walk into a team with an Otere Black and Beauden Barrett that are doing well already. But I think by showing these young guys that he's getting back into the club, the club system, and going and sort of earning his right back in. I mean, not that Dan Carter needs to earn a right, but the fact that he is showing them that he's doing it, it shows the other young guys around him that it doesn't matter where you are in the game, you've still got to earn it.
We only saw highlights, and the highlights are pretty good. And he said he was a little bit rusty out there, so. We haven't seen the whole game, but his highlights look good enough to throw him into Super Rugby. Yeah,
we're talking about him sort of, helping the guys at the Blues, let alone at that level of rugby. It's pretty amazing. And Drew, you had a little stint when you were in Sydney, club footy last time.
Yeah, a bit of sub-districts for Balmain, the Muzzled Wolves.
Yeah.
These ones, just the Muzzled Wolves.
Right.
I thought that was the pay packet you put in your pocket.
It's bigger than that. I went down one game with Matt Kiddo, and we played down there, and
how'd that go?
Look, we weren't too sure exactly how to take it. To be fair, we're playing subbies footy, and I was playing fullback, and one of my wingers, he hadn't been asleep from the night before. He was having a smoke in the corner. I'm like,
nervous, was he?
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, perhaps I'll go the other way. I'll go just all down the right side of the field. Won't really go to him too much. But we weren't sure exactly. I don't know how to approach the game. And I don't know if this sounds, arrogant or whatever, but we thought, do you go really hard and perhaps look like a dick, or do you take it easy? But then also there's potential to look like that, right? So then the first play of the game, this kick comes over to me, and I hear this and tag his head off. And I went, okay, we're on here. And I went,
kids?
yeah. It might have been. So I went back and tried to bump someone, which I didn't. But I just got this swinging eye to the arm, and I was like, oh, kids, we're on here. Like, let's go. Like, let's go as hard as we can. Like, these two enforcers. But no, it was really. I mean, it was played in good spirits, but yeah, it was good fun actually getting back there. And I mean, we always hear we'd love to see more players go back and play, but I mean, Adam Fryer, and there are a number of players that have gone back and play, but it's literally about one, your body, two, your family situation or your work situation, or just whether you want to put yourself through that sort of stuff again. And even at the start of this year, I started thinking about do I want to go back and play a little bit for Randwick, and I sort of flirted with the idea for a little bit, but then I thought, I'm not doing it if there's not going to be anyone there watching.
Well, that's the only reason I wanted to do it.
At COVID, I was like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
What does that say about the two of you?
Yeah, well, that's it.
What's Dan kind of like as a bloke? What sort of experiences have you had with
What
him?
are you asking for, Lou? You fancy him, do you?
No. As a rugby player, yes.
All the girls ask about Dan, don't
It's either Dan or Richie McCaw, right?
Yeah.
No, I get along well with Dan, and I've had different experiences with him throughout sort of the course of my career. But there was one time I was in Paris for the Victoria's Secret show.
Of course you were.
Yeah, in 2016, and Gitz had flown in for from his brother's wedding, so he was just so tired. And I said, Gitz, I've got these 2 tickets to the Victoria's Secret show. We're going. He's like, I've got no interest. I said, well, I've already booked our flights to Paris. I've booked a hotel. We're going. Like, I'm not going to not go to the Victoria's Secret show because you're tired. We're going, right? So we go there, and it's in the Grand Palais, and it's beautiful. It's amazing, and it's it's really sort of like opulent. We're like getting the champagne and whatever, and we see Dan and his wife Anna outside, and we're having a couple of champagnes with them, whatever. And we're like, oh, we'll see you inside. And we don't know what our seats are like. You go in and sort of, the Frenchie at the door sort of says, blah, 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 a gosh. Well, I knew it was a gosh because I played left wing and a gosh is left. and so I knew that we had to turn left, which was closer to the catwalk. There was maybe 4 rows on the catwalk side, and then, then a bit of a grandstand on the side that we were in. And we go down, there's, like Nick Cannon and all these like celebrities and whatever around. We sit in the second row, and I was like, yes, how good's this? There's like 2 seats in front of us. We're like, this is amazing. And then those 2 seats in front, Dan Garter and his wife. And I'm like, bro, like you've beaten us in everything. Like we come second to you in everything, like Bledisloe, Super Rugby, everything. And now we come to the Victoria's Secret show and you still one up us. So he's just always had it over us, unfortunately. He got the trophy throughout his career and he got the trophy that night.
He did.
He's a good guy though. I really like Dan.
Yeah, well, good to see him back in sort of club rugby in New Zealand. Great to see this man back in the show. Sean Maloney's got a mailbag segment, something we started last week. Let's see what the first question is.
It's for you, Lou.
Thank you.
Yeah, hey guys. Sorry I can't be there tonight. Obviously, following the body shaming I copped off the back of last week's episode, I needed to get some help, and I'm getting what I needed, which is great news. And I've also had time to check in on the Aussie Rugby Show mailbag, and it's chockers. It's really full. And Louise Ransome, the first question comes to you from @PabloInnuendo. @PabloInnuendo. And he asks, are the Reds finally turning potential into results?
Sean Maloney, thank you very much.
Good question.
What do you
Very
think,
good question. Well, Tate McDermott, we've been talking about him already. He's been fantastic. And we've talked about sort of the older heads there too, helping these younger guys through, and that's got to be key for the Reds at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those sort of younger guys almost thrust into leadership positions, perhaps a little bit earlier than they were expecting. Liam Wright, and I think also there's probably a little bit of pressure in the last couple of years on Brad Thorne because there was a building phase. He put all his chips on these younger guys. He moved a lot of the older, experienced guys on, and I think now, as what was it, Pablo Innuendo was alluding to, that they're starting to sort of bear those fruits from making those hard decisions that, admittedly, I questioned at the time, and I think some of us did in our previous work life. But no, I think now that those younger guys are actually sort of standing up, and the thing that they need to do though, Steve, is put performances back to back and be consistent at that level.
Yeah, it's Pablo. It's been 1 week. It was a good week, but let's see if they can do that for 2 or 3 in a row.
Hoiles, I think the next one's for you.
Okay, here he is. Oh, look at him. Looks like he's just finished his lap band surgery. We'll hit play on this
lap
one.
dance?
Probably both.
Stevesy, the next question comes to you from @Latho99, @Latho99,
Chris Latho.
and he says, If you can pick 3 players to pull back from overseas to take on the All Blacks in the Bledisloe, who are they? I'll kick you off. I like big Will Skelton. Who you got?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. 3 players. I think definitely Will Skelton.
Yep.
Definitely Rory Arnold.
Yeah.
And I would probably go, I know we're getting Nick White back. Who else we got over there?
You'd have to look over there, maybe look a little bit closer. Japan, Sean McMahon.
Oh, Sean McMahon, absolutely.
He'd be a good shout.
Yeah,
Simon
without a doubt.
Karevi.
Yeah, that's okay.
Bernard Foley, Quade Cooper.
There's a lot of options.
Will
Jeez,
Genia.
we've got let some players go.
Mate,
Yeah.
jeez.
What's Liam Gill doing?
I've
Gilly as well. He's
Oh,
just signed with
this is
STT.
Let them all play, honestly.
I think we need to.
yeah,
I think open it up.
Okay, because I can't pick 2 second rows because you've got to balance it out. That would just be, I'll go with Will Skelton, Sean McMahon and Simon Karevi. There's my 3.
I think we look at it. We've got 5 professional teams in a global game. With, like the Rugby World Cup is the second biggest World Cup behind the Football World Cup.
Yeah.
The A-League, we have how many A-League teams are there? There's at least 8.
11.
11.
So
11,
there's 11, right?
Yeah,
so
there
there's
we go.
11 for them, but they still open up. Like they choose from anywhere.
Yep.
We've got 5, and we only pick from within Australia unless you've got 60 caps. Or I just think it's madness when we're in a global game. We need to sort of start to roll with it, especially when our game isn't doing as well as we like domestically in terms of interest and engagement and finances and all that sort of thing. I think the Giddo rule or whatever it is, we've kind of just got to let it go, and results need to drive us now. And it's and if people sort of get their nose out of joint because some young guy misses an opportunity, then he doesn't deserve it. I think for me it's always been every age group you go through, a representative team is the best available.
Yeah.
And now we get to the ultimate representative team
At a World Cup.
and we don't pick the best available. I think it's madness. But anyway, my question next, so I'll go to Shawnee.
And finally, Mr. Mitch, Drew. This one comes to us from @Bronson. Hell of a handle. Hell of a question coming to, who is the biggest pest / best entertainment following a big win?
Actually, you know what, funnily enough,
think I know
Bronson is my brother.
Yeah, does he know that?
No, he doesn't know that. Yeah.
Serious?
Yeah, and biggest pest. Sometimes Bronson when he came and got a free bar tab after a game. But I mean, look, there've been a number of times where, let's just say, look, we have to play babysitter at times, and make sure we get some of our teammates home and.
You're talking
their head on the
Hugh
pillow.
Edmonds here, are you?
I'm not naming names, but some of those, I guess those sort of pestier questions were probably left, for a later time slot, and Bronson's probably.
People can watch us anytime though, so
Yeah.
It's streamed in a lot of countries, so.
Look, to be honest, the worst was like when he was like, he had an alter ego. When he was like really, really bad, Hoiles was bad.
Yeah.
So who was
I don't drink that much because I'm not very good at it. But,
Yeah, right. No, you're strange.
I think Hugh Edmonds was always fun, a lot of fun.
I don't know why we're talking in past tense. Like he's still
Still is, yeah. Oh, look, every side's got him. That's the beauty. That's the best thing about being in team sport is that people within the team are the only ones who get to see that, and that's what fans rarely get to see, and that's the sort of uniqueness about it. But who would you pick? Like you got to.
Oh, I don't have to. I mean, it's my brother. I can just tell him to piss off.
Yeah.
I'm not answering.
But is there someone that sort of, from an entertainment point of view, is there someone that comes to mind who, off the field, who was the,
Jeremy Paul was always the guy who would lead the charge and have the venues organised, but he wasn't a pest by any means. Like he would organise. He was the entertainer. He would get things sorted, and
It's always some pretty good entertainment, but
yeah.
anyway, I think we should move on, Louise.
I don't think Louise wants to. She's got a journalist background. She's poking and prodding.
That's it.
There's one more.
She says, "Oh, is there another one?"
Here we go.
Guys, I've got to run. They've got me scheduled for a 46-hour straight session in the sauna. I'll see you next week. I'll be looking $1 million. I can't wait to be side by side again. Check out.
I got to run.
Sean Maloney.
Yeah, run for 20 years.
Yeah, the poor fellow. Like, there are some mean comments. There are some mean comments.
mean
And so
people.
some of you out there, just be kind. Be kind. Sometimes it's an angle. Sometimes it's COVID. Sometimes it's the
Beers,
colour. Oh,
Sometimes it's
beers. I pointed at like, come on, Louise.
Sometimes it's a Colonel.
Yeah. Sometimes. Actually, I had the Colonel. I had a big weekend, so the Colonel got me through Sunday.
Yeah. No. Okay, guys,
Yeah.
thanks so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Lou.
Mitchell, Stephen Hoiles, thanks so much for your company at home. Sean Maloney will be back with us next week. I'm Louise Ransome. Thanks for watching.